my name is Lauren. I'm one of the two girls from Two Girls Patterns, and today we're gonna make this scarf. So let's get to it. I'm gonna show you it from above. In this pattern, we're gonna need three things. We're gonna need a super bulky weight yarn. The yarn I'm using today is Respun. It's thick and quick. It's made from 100% recycled polyester, and it's a Lion brand. So, but really what you're using doesn't, it doesn't have to be this. It just has to be a super bulky weight if you want it to look like the scarf in the pictures. And then we also need a crochet hook. This is a 15mm crochet hook. And then we need some scissors. And that is it. So to make this pattern, you're gonna have to know how to do 4 of the very first steps for crochet. You're going to have to know how to make a slip knot. And then you're gonna have to know how to hold your yarn, how to do chain stitches. And then when we get to the end of the chain, how to fasten off. And that's it. Those are the skills. So for this scarf, we need to make a chain that is 5 foot long. So you just start chaining like this, and you continue to chain until this is 5 foot long. And there's several ways you can do that. You can just measure it with a ruler or a tape measure or something to get to 5 foot, but it doesn't have to be that precise. It doesn't have to be that perfect. I'm 5'3", and so you can, so I just hold it from one side of me to the other side of me, from one tips of my fingers to the other tip. My arm span is about 5 foot, since I'm about 5 foot tall. But if you are 6 foot tall, then that's really okay too, because you probably want your scarf to be a little longer anyways, because you're taller. And so the longer you make these chains, the longer the scarf will be, and that will work out perfectly. So 5 foot is, you can go shorter than 5 foot, but I wouldn't go a lot shorter, because you want to have enough to have the tails at the end and to be able to make your knots. And so if you stick with around 5 foot, then that's good. Or 6 foot, like I said. So that's it. I'm gonna check this. I don't think I'm anywhere close, but oh, I'm about halfway. If I hold it from one hand, it goes right about to the middle of me. So that's good. Just keep going. I wanted to say too, there's several things about this pattern that are just great. This pattern is really nice because, especially for beginners, because you're just repeating this one step over and over again. And so you can get used to holding your hook and holding your yarn and, you know, having it run through your fingers like it does. You'll notice I keep pulling it out of my ball. It's a little tight right now, and so that will get looser as we go. But you know, there's all the things you have to do, and you have to learn how to do. So I still have about a foot. So I think I'm gonna show you guys from the front how I measure that, just to make it really clear. And when I say that, all I mean is this. Just hold it from the tips of your fingers to the tips of your fingers. When you spread it out, it should be straight. That's it. But yeah, this pattern is great because you just get to practice and practice and practice these beginner things to the point that you get comfortable with them. So then when we move on to making stitches, other than the chain stitch, you can concentrate on that instead of having to concentrate on holding your yarn and hook and trying to get all that figured out at the same time. Okay, so I am at 5 foot. I'm actually going to go a little over because I wanted to show you what happens if you go over. You just want to take your hook out and pull it out. Like I went over 3 right there on purpose, so I know that's how much I need to go out. But yeah, just pull them out, easy peasy. And then you just fasten off. And I'm going to cut it. I want to leave about a, I don't know, 5-inch tail on there. So there's the first one. And now we need to do that 9 more times. So I'm going to start that over again. I'm going to make a slip knot. Put my hook in there. And so another thing that's really nice about this pattern is we don't have to count, which is always nice when you don't have to count. So you can, once again, concentrate just on making the stitches. You also, I wanted to show you, let me do one that's really tight. One really tight and then one really loose. And so if you look at that, you can see I have a really loose one, 2 tight ones, a loose one, a medium one. And that's okay. With this pattern, it doesn't matter at all. And that's going to be really normal when you're learning. That's how we do it. We're trying to figure it out, and you know, the yarn doesn't slide through our fingers real good, or we're pinching it, or we're pulling this too long, or because we're figuring it out. It's new. So this pattern though is so nice because it's not wasted. You don't have to rip it out. You won't even notice it in the finished item. That's kind of the look of it, is like that. So you just don't have to worry. Just keep going and keep chaining. Another nice thing is usually when you are crocheting, you have something called gauge. And gauge is to make sure that the size you make your stitches is the same size as the person who designed the pattern. So your piece ends up to be the correct size. Like if you're making shoes, which is what we like to design a lot of, or even hats or any piece of clothing, it needs to be, you know, the right size. And so you have to match gauge. But with this pattern, you don't have to, because we're just going to 5 foot, and once you get there, you're good. So however many stitches it takes you to get there is the correct amount of stitches. So let's see. I am almost there. I need probably, I don't know, 10, 15 more. And so what else? Oh, and you don't have to weave in ends. I'll show you what I mean by that here when we finish this round. Let me see. Okay, so there we go. I'm at the end of my round. And fasten off. So that's what I mean by you're weaving in your ends. So anytime you cut at the end after you fasten off, you're gonna have this tail. And normally you'd have to put this on a yarn needle and weave it back through your stitches to hide it. But in our pattern, we kind of want them there. They add to the look of the scarf, and so we just leave them. So that's 2 done. To tie our scarf, all we have to do is line up all of our chains so they're pretty equal on both ends, and then put it around your neck like you're gonna wear it. And then we're just gonna tie 2 simple knots. And really the only thing you have to keep in mind with this is that you want it to be kind of, you know, smooth around your neck like that. And you want to leave enough room with your knot that you can still get it up over your head. Because the idea is that you don't untie it every time, that you just kind of leave it tied and take it off that way. So that's it. So then to tie it, you're just going to cross it over one side over the other, and then pull it through, just like that. And then we're going to just do that one more time. So we're going to cross one side over the other and pull it through. pull it pretty tight. So it's nice and neat looking. And then, see, we got these two guys right here, and they're a little long. So I'm gonna show you how to fix that. So if one of our chains is just a little too long, like it was in the example I showed, it's really easy to fix. I'm going to show you how to do that on this chain. This is just one big chain, but I wanted to cut it from both ends to show you what happens when you cut it. It behaves just a little bit differently when you cut it, but both ways you can do it, and it's not a big deal. So if you need to trim it a little bit, it's not a big deal. So we're going to start with this one, and I'm going to cut it back on the third chain, right? And so with that, you just want to make sure and cut it right in the middle, you know, so you're not cutting into this stitch and this stitch, just right in the middle of that third chain right there. So when you do that, you cut it, and then you can discard that. You're going to have this little piece, and you can discard that. And then all you do with this is you pull it tight, and it goes back, and there you go. So there's that side. Now this side we're going to do the same thing. We're going to cut it back 3 stitches, and so that's 1, 2, 3. We're going to cut it right in the middle again, and then you can discard this little piece again, and then same with this side. You can pull it, and so there you go. So, but what I wanted to show you is, you notice this one went back a lot farther. It had to catch a little bit more, but it's not a big deal. It went back 2 stitches further. No, it's not a big deal. It won't matter at all for this. So, yeah, so just if you feel like you need to trim one, if one looks a little too long, just cut it in the middle like that and pull it until the new knot forms, and you should be good. To finish the scarf off, the very last thing I like to do is just go through and trim all of my tails to be about the same length. So I like them about there. You can leave them longer, but just I think it makes it look nicer if we trim them all to be about the same. So this one's 2 inches or so, but this guy is way too long. So I'm just gonna go through. I'm not gonna get super worried about it, but you know, go through and trim them all to be about 2 inches long.